So meetings are a pretty terrible thing, and they have a tendency to start to take over a project as it gets later in its development, as it starts to set its norms and set its culture in place. You want to try to keep your number of meetings as low as possible. Because they're dragging people away from their desks, meetings also interrupt people's flow. If someone is in the middle of doing something difficult and you pull them away for even a 15-minute meeting, they have to pay a fairly high cost to get themselves back in the zone, back to working. So you should try your best to limit the number of meetings and to limit the disruptions to the team that are occurring. So how do you go about doing this? Well, the first thing that's relatively easy to do is to cluster meetings together. Declare that meetings can only be in the morning or the afternoon, or Fridays must be meeting free. This will push the meetings together, force the meetings to stop on time because people have to go to another meeting, but also give bigger uninterrupted periods of time where people are able to focus on the work they're doing day to day. Ban recurring meetings from your projects, if at all possible, or at least dramatically discourage them. Recurring meetings have a tendency to outlive their usefulness. They have a tendency to collect more and more attendees over time, and eventually almost all recurring meetings just turn into a status update, which probably should have been an email. By forcing recurring meetings to have a time limit or to be rebooked every single time, you're forcing the person who owns the meeting to re-examine whether or not that meeting remains useful. Don't allow standardized sizes of meetings. This one might be a little bit counterintuitive, but there's a natural inclination to just book a meeting as an hour long. If that meeting can be done in 45 minutes, book it for 45 minutes. If a meeting needs to be 22 minutes long, book 22 minutes. An hour, 2 hours, these blocks seem natural, but the meeting will expand to fill the time that it's allocated. So allocate the minimum amount of time that you can get away with. By disallowing 1 hour, you're forcing someone to think a little bit longer about what the meeting is, what the time it actually needs. Is it really a 45-minute meeting, or is it an hour and 15-minute meeting? By disallowing this 1 unit of time, you're encouraging a little bit more thought to go in the process of creating that meeting. Really know the RACI for the meeting that's going on. So the RACI is R, who is responsible for the outcome of this meeting, A, who are the approvers for what's going on in this meeting, C, who needs to be consulted for the contents of this meeting, and I, who needs to be informed for this meeting. For most meetings, you don't want the I's to be in your meeting. They should be informed offline from the meeting minutes or by watching a recording of the meeting or some other means of getting them out of the room. And in a lot of cases, you don't want the C's there either. They should have been consulted before the meeting started. So consult them ahead of time, get their input and information going into the room, and then you can shrink the room as much as possible. Because ultimately, one of your goals should be to keep the meeting as small as possible. One of the reasons that meetings tend to bloat, especially recurring meetings, is there's meeting FOMO. People worry that if a meeting happens and they're not there, then they're going to be out of the loop, they're not part of the decision-making process, and as a result, they want to sneak into as many rooms as possible, to be in as many meetings as possible. The thing to encourage people to try to flip that on its head, what you ideally want them to have is work FOMO. Rather than having them worried about what they're missing by missing a meeting, have them worry about all the work they could be doing if they were not at that meeting. Have a culture of people not wanting to be in the room as much as you can. That will keep your rooms smaller. You want your meeting to have as few attendees as it can get away with. No matter what you do, there's going to be a tendency to collect meetings over time, especially if you haven't managed to get rid of all of your recurring meetings. So on some cadence, probably each time you shift between different phases of the project, take the time to purge meetings off people's calendars. That meeting about alignment on art direction, which mattered in pre-production and production, matters a lot less now that you're entering into the filing process. as you move from phase to phase, take a good hard look at all your recurring meetings, because that's a great opportunity to get rid of a whole bunch of them if you can. So there are about 7 kinds of meetings, and each of them serves a different purpose, and you should think about them in different ways. The only recurring meeting that you should allow on your project, if at all possible, is the stand-up. The stand-up is where a small group of people gets together and talks amongst themselves about what they did yesterday, what they're going to be doing today, challenge they have. You really want to keep this meeting inter-team as much as you can. There is a tendency for stand-ups to turn into this many-to-one communication informational meeting where people are status updating up at the team lead. That's not what you actually want in a stand-up. You want the team discussion to be going on. You want them to talk about their challenges and brainstorm a few things. This should be incredibly short. This should be probably every day, so it's a very frequent meeting. I have seen teams successfully do this on Slack or other communication channels. That's going to be very dependent on your culture. But if you can do that, it gets rid of a meeting that's happening every single day and replaces it with something that's asynchronous and offline. An informational meeting is a few to many meeting. So a small group of people, possibly one single person, communicating to a larger group of people about how something works or how something is. The major question here with an informational meeting, could this be an email? And often the answer to that question is yes, it could be an email. You probably want some FaceTime on major shifts in direction, but for the most part, probably a lot of your informational meetings are happening for the wrong reason. So take a strong look at those meetings and think about maybe doing them through some other communication channel. Similar to informational meetings are alignment meetings. So alignment meetings are where you have a small group of people, actually often only a single group of people, communicating to a very large group of people, possibly the entire project. These should be incredibly rare. These often are necessary because you need to get people in a room or on Zoom or something like that, looking at what's being presented. They should be mandatory attendance. You should probably record them, but they should be mandatory attendance because this is a moment for you to get everyone together and force alignment, to force everyone to at least admit they listened at the same time to the same thing. A review meeting is where you are looking at something and providing feedback on that thing. So it would typically be a small group to a small group. You are going to review a plot or a model. A lot of times review meetings can happen offline. The content is provided beforehand and an email can provide most of the feedback. You probably don't want to get rid of all of your review meetings because it does provide an opportunity to get people aligned with each other because they can see the feedback that is being provided in real time, and it can make things click into place a little bit better. But you can probably get rid of a lot of your review meetings and replace them with some sort of offline process. Dailies are like review meetings, but they're usually covering a larger swath of content. You are playing through a section of the game, or you are experiencing something as a whole. This is an interesting meeting because really what it is it's a small group of people presenting content to a small group of reviewers. And then the extra thing that I think makes dailies valuable is there's a large group that is consuming the dailies as a source of alignment. For that larger group, ideally you just record the daily and provide that recording to be consumed at their own pace, at their own desire to provide that alignment. I like dailies. I think they provide a very good way to get a larger group of people pointing in the same direction. They don't necessarily actually have to be daily. Often at certain phases of your project, you're not moving fast enough for your dailies to actually occur every single day. So they're a good one to think about whether or not you want to dial the frequency up and down depending on where you are in the project. Celebration meetings are an opportunity to celebrate the accomplishments of the team. It's a small to many presentation style where a small group of people are presenting to the team as a whole. Ideally, that small presenting group should not be the leads or the leadership of the project. You want to involve different people on your team as much as possible to give them an opportunity to be in the spotlight for a moment to show the things that they have done. These need to be relatively infrequent. If you are doing these any more than once every 6 weeks, then you are doing this too often. They are disruptive because often the amount of work required to get things ready to be shown isn't tiny. So make sure you're keeping on top of these and not letting them spin out of control. And then finally is the working session. Working session is where you're getting a small group of people, the R's and the A's on your RACI, together in order to accomplish a specific task. You need to figure out exactly how wide the shoulders are on the dwarf. So you got to get the animators together and the modelers together and the gameplay designers together and just kind of hash it out to figure out what's going on. You need, for any meeting, to have an agenda. For any meeting, you need to have meeting minutes. But for a working session, it is absolutely critical, because without an agenda, without a taking of minutes, this kind of meeting can just turn into an informational meeting and nothing gets accomplished. Working sessions of all of the 7 kinds of meetings are the one that is the most likely to take over your project, because as a lead who might not be getting a lot of work done on a day-to-day basis, a working session meeting feels like work. So it feels like you accomplished a lot when you have a working session meeting. Even if you didn't reach a decision, if any kind of meeting is going to take over your project, it's either going to be recurring meetings that have gotten out of control and not been adequately purged, or it's going to be working session meetings by leads who feel like subconsciously they're not getting enough done, and they're booking all these meetings to feel like they're accomplishing more. The problem with that, well, it should be obvious, but the problem is that you're pulling 9 people into a room for an hour. That's 9 project hours that you've just destroyed and potentially have nothing to show coming out the other side. Working sessions done correctly, very valuable. You get everyone in the room that needs to be in the room and no more, flesh it out, hash out the problem, and come to a conclusion. Communicate that conclusion to the other people that need to know and move on. But often working sessions have no real goal in mind. They have the wrong people in the room and they don't end up reaching a conclusion. For a working session, you want the room to be as small as you can get away with. So if you're talking about dwarf shoulders, yeah, you need an animator there, you need a modeler there, you need a combat designer there, but you don't probably need the writer there as well. Even though they care, they need to know the result of the answer so that they can write about it. They're just an eye on the RACI. They're informed. They don't need to be part of the decision-making process. And this is why it's very important to know your RACIs, because otherwise it's impossible for you to determine who actually needs to be in the room. Unfortunately, meetings are a necessary evil because we are human social animals and we need to communicate with each other, but you should be trying to keep your meetings to a minimum. Cluster them together to give people uninterrupted periods of work. Only invite the people to the meeting that need to be there. Discourage meeting FOMO by encouraging people to prioritize their work over their involvement in decision making. Don't allow leaders to use meetings as a replacement for work. Special thanks to my members. They provide the resources that this channel needs to keep running. If you're interested in becoming a member, there's a link to that down in the description. If you found this video interesting or useful, give it a thumbs up because that lets YouTube know that it's worth showing to some other people. What are some other kinds of meetings you wish would cease to be? Or do you avoid all the meetings possible? Have you ever been guilty of booking a meeting just to feel like you were getting something done? Let me know these things down in the comments. I will see you again soon. Thank you.